questa gara la doppia classifica Coppa è 4,88. Andiamo a presentarvi la griglia di partenza con i piloti che sono schierati in griglia con il secondo miglior tempo ottenuto nelle qualifiche di mercoledì. Pole position per Andrei Lewandowski, numero 160, che partirà in prima fila con la Ferrari numero 160 appunto del team Autolaus Ulrich. Il pilota al suo fianco è Andreas Rizzi, numero 122, team CDP DEC Racing. Il tempo di Rizzi 1.54.687, la pole position di del pilota Lewandowski è 1.54.440. Seconda fila per la Ferrari del team Kessel, numero 167 è Henri Assid, il pilota francese che è il campione 2024, quindi campione in carica di questa stagione. Alexander Nussbaumer è al suo fianco, numero 136 con la Ferrari del team GOM Motorsport. Terza fila per Thomas Gostner, pilota altoatesino del team CDP MP Racing, numero 161, e James Whelan, pilota americano iscritto nel campionato europeo, team Rosso Corsa, numero 118. Quarta fila per Pierluigi Alessandri col team Rosso Corsa Ferrari numero 144 e col Kessel Racing la Ferrari numero 199 di
Hi everyone, welcome to Imola. Round 7 of our Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell and 488 racing for our 2024 calendar. What an immense calendar it has been. It all kicked off in Mugello, and we now find ourselves here in Imola, where when the sun shines it's a beautiful place to be. As you can see, it was back in May when we kicked it all off before heading to Balaton, then Jerez, Portimao, La Casale, Nürburgring, and now the final event here at Imola as part of Finale Mondiale. 4.9 kilometers the circuit, 21 turns, 12 left, 9 right. It's an anti-clockwise direction of travel for our drivers, and there are going to be some 29 drivers out there on track for this particular race, as we combine our Shell drivers driving the Ferrari Challenge 296 car, and we have our 488 Challenge drivers driving the 488 Challenge car, which of course has proven to be such a fantastic car. Hello, good afternoon to you wherever you're watching from. 24 degrees is the track temperature. The air temperature is a very pleasant 20 degrees, and I have to say, with the blue sky showing, which I think I'm right in saying for the first time since I've been here this week, it's really rather lovely at the moment. Things can change in a heartbeat here though, that's for sure. And you can see spectators settling in to enjoy what will be a fantastic race, I feel sure. Let's get down and take a look at some of the fantastic cars down there on track, including that of Thomas Gostner, driver of the 161 car for CDP MP Racing, who has qualified that car on P5, Nico, and dare I say, could be a danger man from there.
Yeah, good afternoon everybody, welcome to Coppa Shell and the 488 class. There is our pole setter, definitely a danger man. He won the race yesterday. Andrzej Lewandowski had his debut in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell at the Nürburgring and the previous round, and had great pace, didn't have quite the results that he felt, but that came yesterday, and he will hope for more today and over the rest of this week.
We can see the tyre trolleys being wheeled about on the grid, and It is such a big grid of cars, you can see them almost beyond the little kink on the start-finish straight, which isn't quite straight here at Imola. Quite an undulating circuit as well, where it's very demanding. The drivers really don't have a moment to relax. They're on it all the time as they encounter the 21 turns or so that make up this track. So, yes, as you say, Andrzej Lewandowski showing his real talent yesterday. He goes from P1 today on the grid. Here we'll have Andreas Rizzi alongside him, and Henri Assid, the champion, will be going from P3 on the grid. This is von Skeltermar, driver of the 177 car and perhaps driver of the most photographed Ferrari Challenge car that you're likely to see by dint of the shark's teeth in front of it. There is Mrs. Pino and Pino Frascaro. In fact, the Frascaro family down there. Pino is one of our drivers in the 488 Challenge, and he'll be hoping for a good result. There's Tina, who is supporting Michael Martin in the 109 car down there on track, driving for Maranello Motors Schumacher Racing. And the 122 car is Andreas Rizzi, who I mentioned earlier, going from P2 on the grid, Nico. And Andreas Rizzi very much in the thick of the action at times yesterday, and his result probably didn't really show just what he is capable of. So many things going on in the race yesterday, and Manu Gosner will be hoping for a bit more luck today than perhaps she had yesterday in the 193 car. You may recall, if you were watching the race yesterday, regrettably she'd had an off on the installation lap to the grid and ended up the car having to be pushed back into the pit lane, and yeah, sadly not the race that she really wanted. Hello Manu, great to see you on the grid.
Absolutely, and she is plumb last of the Shell drivers by dint of having not the qualifying that she felt. Very different conditions from today in qualifying. Very wet, very slippery. There is Henri Assid here in center shot. He was on pole yesterday, took the fastest time in qualifying, but because we had only one qualifying, it was the fastest and the second fastest time, and that means his second fastest time was only good for P3, which is still very respectable. And he also had an off on the way to the grid yesterday. No such trouble today in dry conditions. So let's see what he and all the others can do, including Pierluigi Alessandri.
Just to the left of our screen, you can see the grandstand there with the glass fascia. That's our Casa Ferrari here at Finale Mondiale. And what a fantastic Casa Ferrari we have here as we look at the car of Christoph Herney, the all-yellow 162 car, and alongside Christoph is Tibor Valent. Tibor, who first raced in the Ferrari Challenge some years ago and is back racing in it, along with his son Benz, who races in the Trofeo Pirelli category. Von Skeltermar has got John Dillon alongside him, and John Dillon driving the 151 car. And John again fell victim, if you like, to perhaps not qualifying where we expected. John, a race winner this year and a multiple podium placer as well. He'll be trying to do some overtaking during the course of this race, I feel sure. Championship, of course, in terms of Shell drivers, already gone the way of Henri Assid, and for our 488 Challenge cars, it's gone the way of Fabrizio Fontana. So the championships, in terms of first place, are done and dusted.
True, but that sometimes lends us or gives us the opportunity to watch some racing with very little strategy, but lots of emotion and enthusiasm, and embodied by none more than Motohiko Izuzaki, who we saw there, but inside the car, I'm sure he's as enthusiastic as he's outside, and that's a big hat.
I promise you, we didn't rehearse that.
Well, no, we didn't, but we nailed it. Well, we're about 2.5 minutes away from the start of this race. And you see the cars lined up on the grid. Really enjoyable.
Right. So all the drivers then getting ready for the off. As I mentioned, championships have been sealed both in the 488 cars and in the Shell category of the Ferrari Challenge. And taking the championship in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell, the driver from Kessel Racing, Henri Assid. What a season he has had.
2024, and we proceed.
It was a really, really amazing season for me because I won the championship, of course. I discovered this car at the beginning without making any practice. It was a really, really good surprise because this car is so nice to drive. At the beginning, I had to find some different way to drive very fast. One of the best moments of the season is when you are not at P1 and you are looking to pass P1 and you succeed. Le Castellet is my track. I love this track and I think I won on this track with all the car I drove. It will be possible to win this championship after my 2 victories at Le Castellet. It's very, very important when you have a passion to share this passion with all the people you have loved. I had my sons with me, Samuel, Maxime, and on every meeting I have my dear Valerie.
He has had a stellar season and he is the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell champion. Henri Acide, as the Richard Mills safety car then leads the cars away on their formation lap. Always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge. So the cars led away by the safety car. They have this opportunity to get themselves ready and into gear and find all the motivation they need to try and succeed. Here is the grid in full. Faisal Shayer goes from P29 on the grid. P28 for Germano Salernitano and then Gerardo Maino alongside. It's Neil Sabranson and Pino Frascaro, P26 and P25. These are the 488 Challenge drivers with Maurizio Pittori and Tommy Lindroth going from P24 and 23 overall. Alexei Komarov and young superstar Quinn Wiedlisbach are next with Fabrizio Fontana and Sven Schirmer, victorious yesterday. To the Shell drivers with Manuel Agosna and Ken Abe going from P18 and 17 onto row 8 where we find Yasutaka Shirasaki and Michael Martin. To the 7th row it's Corinna Gosna and Motohiko Isasaki, and then on the 6th row going from P12 it's John Dillon. From P11 it's Fons Skeltemer. From P10 Tibor Valent and Christoph Herney going from P9. They occupy row 5, and on row 4 it's Ernst Kirkmeyer and Pierluigi Alessandri. To the 3rd row, we find James Wyland and Thomas Gosner, P6 and P5. And it's Alexander Nussbaumer, P4, and our champion, Henri Acide, going from P3, with Andreas Rizzi and Andrzej Lewandowski going from the front row, P1 and P2 for those 2 drivers. Shell drivers then with the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen. Our 488 Challenge drivers have a blue strip across the top of the windscreen. That's how you can identify who's doing what and from where. Let's hear from our pole sitter, Andrzej Lewandowski.
I'm very happy, I'm proud that I start in the weekend Finale Mondiale, and the track Imola is my favorite track, and that's why I'm very happy that the race 2 I pole position and the race 1 the 2nd place, and I really happy. And the rain is for me is also I like in the dry, and doesn't matter for me because the track is perfect.
Well, you've got dry weather conditions, Andrzej, for this race. He, of course, collecting that Rotiform Pole Position Award. Will be added to his mantelpiece, I do not doubt, on display with some pride. This is a great shot as the cars then. They will line up in grid formation side by side. Now, every driver has to drive through their grid box on the start-finish straight to ensure that the start is satisfactory and legal. So they're encouraged to stay in their side-by-side grid formation until they've gone through those grid boxes and the race gets underway. I think I'm right, aren't I?
Absolutely, and it's only one more turn and a kink to do. The left-hand side, from the driver's point of view, right-hand side from our point of view, is the advantageous one, not only because it's pole position, because of the kink after the start. So you get to shortcut a little bit, and the other drivers have to take around the outside. So everything is set up. Last race.
It is the last race in the European 2024 calendar. As World Final races still to come. Drivers jostling for as much momentum as they can find. As at a snail's pace, it feels like they head towards the start-finish line. We will throw the lighting gantry to the top of the screen so that you will be able to see exactly when the drivers see the lights go out, and we will be racing. It's a big number of cars out there on track, 29 of them. All the lights are red. The lights go out. Let's go racing. Great start from Henri Azid, who finds the grass but finds that P1 position and goes through on Andrzej Lewandowski. Henri Azid absolutely determined right from the very, very start. He nailed the start perfectly and finds himself in the lead of the race. Extraordinary stuff as one car has gone off. That's Tibor Valint, I can see, who is out in the gravel, and I regret to say if he cannot get it out of that gravel, we are probably going to be seeing a safety car almost straight away. So I think it might have been a coming together with Michael Martin because he's dropped down the order. Henri Azid, in the meantime, has dropped everybody else behind him and has already built up a margin of very nearly 8 tenths between P1 and P2. And there you can see, unfortunately, the Tibor Valint car is stuck in that gravel, and that's why I don't want to be the prophet of doom, but I really rather suspect, Nico, that the waved yellow will turn into a safety car.
Yeah, absolutely. They will let the cars race until the end of this lap and then neutralize it. I'm very sure of it. And well, it came even a little bit quicker than I maybe thought. Safety car, and you can see the boards being displayed along the track alongside the yellow wave flag. So it was a brief green flag period at the beginning, and it meant Henri Azid made it all the way to the very front, and unfortunately we lost Tibor Valint, race winner at the opening race of the season. He won't get the bookmark on this season with a win at the end. Unfortunately lost here, and well, it's all down, coming to settle down. Quinn Wiedlisbach made it to the very front in the 488s because also there our pole setter Sven Schömer dropped quite a few places down into P6 in class.
So Henri Azid then leader of the race. Hopefully we'll get a replay of what happened. This is just a replay of the start sequence, which I don't think will hold on to the pictures long enough to see what happened exactly. Pino Frascaro with a very good start to the race as well. We can see it from the back end here. See Pino squirreling past 2, maybe 3 cars as he headed towards and here we might be able to pick up I didn't quite see the start of that, Nico. I didn't realise we were going to that shot when we were here. We're on board with John Dillon.
Yeah, John was driving behind Tibor when that happened.
He gets a hit from behind and from the side.
And then he flatters somewhat, but I mean, it's so close there, and you could see he received some nudges before, and then I don't think John really is much that he could do at that point.
No, and I think you could sense from the from his hand gestures that he wasn't very happy, and definitely there were a couple of hits, weren't there? So that means that Tibor Valint is out, and it also means that John Dillon has dropped way down the order, Nico, which is very disappointing for him right at the start of the race. Of course, he's gunning for P2 in the championship in Coppa Shell. So, yeah, there we are, some drama. Now, a number of drivers making good progress. Quinn Wiedlisbach making up 5 places. Maurizio Pittori making up 5 places. So too Pino Frascara in terms of the 488 cars. Now, the incident involving cars 151 and 132 in turn 2 is under investigation. I mean, you know, I'm pleased that we saw the replay of being on board, Nico, because rather than see, you could actually hear the contact, couldn't you?
Yes, indeed, and again, you know, race control, they will have a look at that. They have lots of data, lots of angles to look at beyond what we can offer you. They also obviously look at the TV pictures, and they will have seen what we have seen. And they will come up with a decision. Obviously, the drivers are always responsible for where their car is on track. But, you know, you have to expect what's expected. And I think, you know, for me, John Dillon was involved in so many skirmishes. We will find out what race control thinks, but he's been punished enough, I think, by virtue of the fact of running P21 overall. Safety car is going to stay out at least one more lap, but we hope it's not more than that.
Indeed, the recovery team have been very quick here, generally at Imola at getting the cars recovered. And yes, we rather think that hopefully just one more lap behind the safety car before we can go back to racing proper. As the safety car was called for, it was Acid, Rizzi and Lewandowski, the top three for our Shell drivers. And the incident involving cars 151 and 132 in turn 2, no further action after the investigation. As Nico has said, they have access to much more data and many more screens than we do, and they felt it was a racing incident.
Yeah, I never like to try and do the job of race control, because they do it much more proficiently and better, but I feel in my heart of heart that that's the right call here. There was John Dillon coming and going through shot. So hopefully we will get back to racing after this one, and then it's going to be the likes of Andreas Rizzi and Andrzej Lewandowski, who I'm sure feel like they want to move forward, especially Lewandowski, who left the most margin of gaps on the inside. But
yeah,
if that was enough for Henri Assis to just slice through.
Yeah, you don't leave half an inch, do you, to Henri Assis, because he will find a way, and did find a way. I gave you the top three in terms of the Shell drivers. Of course, you can see on the left-hand side of the screen the top three in the 488s. Quinn Wiedlisbach, Fabrizio Fontana and Maurizio Pittori, and as you can also see on screen, safety car will come in this lap. So as Nico thought would be the case, that indeed is the case. So we will get back to racing with, guess we'll have about 22.5 minutes plus a lap of racing to come.
Yeah, and it's going to be a single file restart, so no lining up in two rows, but it's going to be down to Henri Assis to give it a footfall whenever he feels like it. Once the safety car has peeled away, we go back on board with John Dillon. And we have a look here inside the garage. There is vice champion. And Philip Barron, thumbs up.
Yeah, if you get a thumbs up from Philip Barron, you've done a good job.
Indeed, it's t-shirt weekend.
Yeah.
Or actually t-shirt week. And obviously once we get going here, it's this race.
T-shirt weather today.
But only today.
Yeah. Right. I said 22.5 minutes. It might be 22 and a lap by the time the cars have made it to the start-finish line. Safety car will peel off into the pit lane, of course. There it is. And once it has done so, it's Henri Assis who is responsible for controlling the pace of the restart. Nicky, and he, and only he, can decide when he's going to accelerate. And Andreas Rizzi and Andrzej Lewandowski and Thomas Gostner and all the other drivers are going to try and anticipate when he's going to go for it. And he goes now. So good start, restart from Henri Assis. He has one more of the Rabatza turns to do. He's done that, and now he's on the start-finish straight. And we go back to racing once again. This is Ferrari Challenge, Coppa Shell and 488. Live from Imola with Henri Assis leading. We had an early intervention of a safety car right at the start of the race, not even one lap completed. And that was for the recovery of the Tibor Valin car in the gravel. So Henri stretching his legs already to the tune of a second over Andreas Rizzi. We know he's got pace, we know he's got ability, that's why he is the champion. And there you can see Fabrizio Fontana really beginning to take it now to Quinn Wiedlisbach in the 488 races. And you'll just see them come into the back of the shot, maybe you won't. So Henri Assis climbs uphill, Andreas Rizzi does the same, and there is Andrzej Lewandowski. So the 488 race being contested by Quinn Wiedlisbach, Fabrizio Fontana and Maurizio Pittori. However, the 296 Coppa Shell Challenge race is being contested by Omri Assid, Andreas Rizzi and Andrzej Lewandowski. And look, before this lap is even completed, Omri Assid has put 1.7 seconds on the clock, and I think we've lost Yasutaka Shirasaki, who seems to be dropping down the order. But in fairness, Nico, we have seen drivers with transponders that have not been pinpoint accurate, and though I think on this occasion that might be true, that we have lost that driver. We will see. Meantime, there is the 122 car running P2, 1.8 seconds behind our race leader. Well, clearly it was a transponder issue once again, because Yasutaka Shirasaki is back into the P9 position that he holds in terms of the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell races. What is it they say? Don't believe everything that you read. What you can believe is that Henri Assid is on a mission. Very nearly 2 seconds up the road and sets the fastest lap, a 1:44.812. And fastest lap in terms of our 488 Challenge drivers came from Fabrizio Fontana, who is sitting P2 in the 488s at the moment. There's our leader in Coppa Shell, Henri Assid. Climbs uphill now, champion in the Coppa Shell category. Andreas Rizzi running P2, Andrzej Lewandowski running P3. And they're all gapped quite significantly, really. Alexander Nussbaumer and Ernst Kirchmeier running P5 and P6. And here comes Corinna Gostner chasing down that Shirasaki all-black 296 car. And right behind is Christoph Herney and then Corinna's sister Manuela, who's made progress up the order. And here you can see Manuela Gostner just taking a look at Christoph Herney.
Yeah, and you feel like she's so much quicker. She could go a lot quicker, but she has to find a way by first, and she will try and do that. First up, it's her sister's turn, Corinna, who is trying to set up a move, but not quite there. But I think von Skeltema has actually gone past Manuela Gostner, and Manuela seems to have lost pace.
Yeah, she's dropped a couple of places, Nico. Well spotted. So here they come, running down the hill then. Let's see if we can pick up on where Manuela is. So there is Corinna. There's von Skeltema. He's got Christoph Herney for company now, having got past him. And there's Federico Isasaki in there. It's been a weekend to forget for Manuela Gostner, Nico, I have to say, in the Coppa Shell racing. She tries to nurse, seemingly as a stricken car, back to the pit lane. She's quite some way to go yet. And Corinna Gostner continues to uphold the Gostner honours, as indeed does Father Thomas. Thomas running in P4, Corinna running in P10. And Corinna definitely tracking Yasutaka Shirasaki at the moment. And here comes von Skeltema with the shark's teeth sharpened and ready to bite, I would suggest.
Yeah, he's trying to get on terms with Corinna Gostner, and after that with Yasuka Shirotaki. Fons hasn't had it all his own way this season with the 296. He's been part of the championship for so many years.
Yes.
The podium this year has eluded him, and that's his target side certainly for this week. And yeah, Manuela Gostner, ever since coming here, she hasn't had it her way, and unfortunately for her, that continues.
Got to say well done to her though, because her racing awareness, she put the car to safety without having to bring out another car, safety car. And here comes von Skeltema on Corinna Gostner. Side by side they go, almost running into this chicane. This is going to liven up, and this is the fight that's going on for P10 at the moment. Corinna Gostner is running in P10, von Skeltema is running in P11. As cars come downhill now, hold on for dear life on this roller coaster that is the Imola circuit. Cars turn in, and of course Corinna Gostner is on her own battle in terms of trying to get the better of Yasutaka Shirasaki. And von Skeltema just trying to spot his opportunity. Are any of them close enough to be able to look at the inside line going into the Variante Tamburello? Not sure, truthfully. Corinna takes a look at the inside line, but isn't close enough. However, mid-chicane, she is certainly close enough, and Fons closes up as well. as does the rest of the pack. It's certainly a three-way fight at the moment for this P9 position, being contested between these drivers, and Christoph Herney is almost on it, as is Ken Ave and Motohiko Isasaki for good measure.
Yeah, good battles going on among our shell drivers. Henri Hassid stretches legs to 3.7 seconds. Then Andreas Rizzi and Andrzej Lewandowski fairly close together, as well as some of the other drivers between those leaders and the pack that we are watching, because here it looks like the action should come, and there is the battle, or the duel that we were talking about. Andreas Rizzi P2 and Andrzej Lewandowski P3, trying to get back up the order.
Lewandowski inevitably will have a pace advantage psychologically by dint of his victory yesterday. He'll just feel full of confidence, feel full of confidence with the car, full of confidence with the track as well. And to do what he did in torrid conditions yesterday, he'll be thinking, this surely is going to be a piece of cake. Andreas Rizzi has got slightly different ideas over there, and thus far he has been denied from wrestling away that P2 position from Andreas Rizzi. Henri Hassid 4.3 seconds up the road. The live speed, as you can see, and also the gear selection that they are using when the figures go from green to red, you know that they're decelerating by braking, like right now. And Andrzej Lewandowski definitely later on the brakes than Andreas Rizzi, as he tries to carry as much momentum as possible. This is one of the places where potentially you can overtake if you get a very good exit out of the turn and climb uphill. However, he wasn't close enough to be able to do it, was Mr. Lewandowski on this occasion. Hassid, Rizzi, Lewandowski, the top three. And we are watching the battle for P2. 13 and 3/4 minutes of this race remaining, plus 1 lap. 2 races in one. The Shell drivers driving the cars with the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen, and the 488 drivers driving with the blue strip across the top of the windscreen. I've got a localized yellow, and that I think is, well, maybe a car off there, maybe a car briefly into the gravel, because we go back to greens and the yellow flag is rescinded right now. So Andrzej Lewandowski, it's really difficult to run in the air behind the car in front too closely, because it affects your aero, it affects your cooling potentially. So maybe he's backed out of it to come and have another go at another point in the remaining 13 minutes plus a lap, maybe. It's all conjecture on our part. Fastest lap now, a 1:42.971. 974, I beg your pardon. Set by this man, Henri Hassid, our Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell champion. Andreas Rizzi P2, Andrzej Lewandowski P3. We keep our eyes on the 488 Challenge racing as well, and here is our race leader, 201. It's Quinn Wiedlisbach. And running in P2 is our 488 champion Fabrizio Fontana, with Maurizio Pittori running P3, Nico.
Yeah, and Quinn Wiedlisbach took the spoils of victory at Nürburgring race 2, and so he's tasted that. Fabrizio Fontana, meanwhile, was the dominator for the first half of the season, and was effectively unbeatable all the way until Le Castellet. Was missing from the Nürburgring round and has found his reappearance here in the challenge quite a little bit more tricky. It has met more resistance, and now he is trying to get back into his winning ways, but he has to get past the car of Quinn Wiedlisbach to do that. Meanwhile, the battle for P2 here in the Shell class is intensifying. There is a back-marking car which gentleman-like gets out of the way as those two quick cars come breezing past.
Just for the sake of mentioning it, and it might have been the traffic that played a part, Henri Hassid's big margin has come down a little bit. Now, whether that's Andreas Rizzi who's got the hurry up, or whether it's the fact that Henri Hassid had to pass a back-marking car, which maybe just took him maybe a bend or two longer than he had hoped. We will see how that gap at the front evolves over the remaining 11 minutes now. Corinna Gosner has been somewhat frustrated behind the car of Yasutaka Shirasaki and hasn't been able to find a way. And Equally, Fons Skelterman has not been able to find a way past Corinna Gostner. Is he going to be able to do so this time around? He's taking a look at the inside line as they head to the chicane, but not quite close enough, Nico, to be able to do it. And therefore, that plays into the hands nicely of the Rosso Scudiero driver, Yasutaka Shirasaki, who's able just to breathe a sigh of relief for a moment, because Corinna Gostner was really rather more about defending then than attacking, I would have suggested.
Yes, indeed. A very brief look to the side as Fons Skelterman gets a little bit wider than Corinna Gostner, but he could do something if he gets on the inside and has more trajectory out of that corner. It all bunches up, and that makes it very, very difficult for Corinna, who wants to attack, but also really has to be aware of Fons Skelterman right behind her.
In the 488 challenge, Maurizio Pittori has got past Fabrizio Fontana. Hopefully we'll get a replay of that, because Fabrizio Fontana relegated now to P3 from that P2 position that he held as he was chasing Quinn Vitlis back. Osid, Asid, Ritzi, Lewandowski, the top three Ferrari challenge. Coppa Shell drivers and Fons Skelterman really getting very close to Corinna Gostner now. Running downhill and into the two Ravazza turns. They come at a really fast speed. Heavy on the brakes, demands a lot of braking power for the two Ravazza turns. And then out onto the start-finish straight, where immediately Corinna Gostner moves to the left-hand side of the track to try and protect the optimum line, Nico. And that becomes ever more optimum towards the end of the start-finish straight, going into the first chicane. This is where you can see Fons taking a look at the inside, and that, we heard a squeal of some protesting Pirelli rubber, but I don't think it has come to anything. All of a sudden, Nico, this is going to become and going to intensify, because more and more cars are trying to buy into this battle for P9. And as you can see, we've got some traffic ahead as well, and that may play into the what is going to happen here. But in Ferrari Challenge style, gentlemen drivers making way to not impede those quicker cars that are coming through. It's been a really impressive drive from Shirasaki, who's been under immense pressure for lap after lap after lap, and he's just soaked it all up like a sponge. Now, to be fair to Corinna, she's trying to attack, but she's having to defend her track position at the same time, and that's a big ask, Nico. You're trying to do two things, and two modus operandi at exactly the same time, and Skelterman gets a good exit. I've got to say, I think Fons is quicker, but he's not been able to find a way by.
No, definitely not, and he has to be careful not to be too aggressive here, because also he has cars behind him who would love very dearly to inherit his position should anything go wrong. So all the drivers really have to drive with their heads as much as with their hands and feet, and Fons Skelterman, he must feel like, I could be so much quicker, but nothing doing there. Talking about being able to be quicker, John Dillon, unfortunately, that early incident really compromised his race, because he's still caught among the 488. So the pace advantage that the 296 generally has is gone. So unfortunately, this race, nothing for him to be gained.
And Fons Skelterman, just out of interest, has found himself with a track limit issue, so he needs to keep an eye on that. It's only one at the moment, and you can have up to 3 before a penalty might be awarded. And this is where you were mentioning John Dillon, who's kind of stuck behind these. I'm not absolutely sure that John has got all the pace because of the aero damage at the front of that car, and therefore that's why he's not made short work, if you will, of going past the 488 cars, as now Fabrizio Fontana retakes that place that was taken by Maurizio Pittori earlier on in this race.
Indeed, and you can see Quinn Vitlisbach just ahead of that fight group, and there was Maurizio Pittori was just trying to get back on the inside. We will watch if that was a successful move, but we go back, focus on the leaders, P2 and P3 in the shell class, and Andrei Lewandowski, who had a little bit of a gap, has come back into this. We now have a yellow flag at turn 9.
Which would lend itself to the suggestion, Nico, that perhaps that overtake did or did not happen. I suppose that's a fairly obvious thing to say. Let's take a look at replay here at Corinna Gostner. Well, finding a way past, but losing various bits of bodywork in so doing, and this in replay was Fabrizio Fontana, unfortunately getting an assist into the gravel, and that is, I reckon, going to bring out the safety car, unless Fabrizio, you can see how disappointed his driver coach Stefano Guy is. Yes, sure enough, that is a safety car. So, who will benefit from that? Well, John Dillon certainly will. Potentially Andrzej Lewandowski and Andreas Rizzi.
Yeah, it kind of depends now whether we will go back racing after this or if it's the end of the race. We just saw on our timing screen that Pierluigi Alessandri had overtaken Ernst Kirchmeier. The indication came after the safety car had been called for, but obviously the overtake could have been done before that.
Yes.
So there is Henri Hassid, who leads. There is a 488 back-marking car right behind him.
That's sort of a cushion for him, isn't it?
Indeed.
But it's all subject to us going back to racing with just 4¼ minutes plus a lap. We might be lucky because, in fairness, the recovery teams here at Imola have been very, very quick, Nico.
Yeah, so we keep our fingers crossed because we want more racing, and as beautiful as the safety car is, we don't want to see it all that often after the start. So lots of discussions here on the pit perch, and the driver coaches and the team managers will talk to their drivers and advise them on all the information they have and prepare them if they want to, if they will go back racing. There is Corinna going very, very wide after having made the overtake. She almost gave it back, but as far as we can see, she kept that position, and there is a very, very big gap, I dare say. After the Ernst Kirchmeier car, there is pretty much nobody, even after the safety car. There's still 10 seconds back to James Wyland, who is running in P8.
Yeah, it's a fair point you make. Presumably they will all get together behind the safety car. The clock continues to count down whilst the safety car intervenes. And yes, all the cars now joining what is affectionately known as the crocodile. Not that crocodiles are necessarily affectionate, not in my experience, which is thankfully very limited.
It depends.
Such things, but yeah. Well, it's been a interesting race, that's for sure. And as you can see, some of the progress chart tells the story. Quinn Beatless back up 5 places in the 488s, and indeed leading the 488 charge, leading the shell charge is Henri Hassid.
Yeah, Quinn Lietteslach leader in the 488s. Behind him, John Dillon on track, but Maurizio Pittori in class. It's going to be interesting what race control feels. That incident with Fabrizio Fontana, whatever it was, they will have a look at it and determine if any penalties are warranted or if everything stays as it was. Sven Schirmer running in P3, he was the pole setter. Yesterday's winner dropped quite a few places, but is back on a podium position come what may, and we're 1 minute and 48 seconds away, but the safety car is gonna come in this lap, so we actually get 2 more laps after this one, I would reckon.
Yes, that's gonna be a dash for cash, isn't it? Well, Henri Hassid, as you can see, is really weaving from side to side, getting ready to go. Now, he needs the safety car, of course, to disappear up the road before he gives it a footful, but he will give it a footful, and I think you're right, Nico, because I think they're gonna cross the line before we've gone from 118 down to 0. Therefore, we would get the remainder of this lap plus 1 more lap. So, 2-lap dash for cash in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell. The incident involving cars 269 and 218 in turn 9 is under investigation. You can see that on screen as well. So a minute plus a lap remaining. Now, where the cars are on track and the pace they're going, Nico.
Henri can manipulate that.
Yep.
50 seconds is a long way, but I don't think he would leave it all that late just for the sake of diminishing by a lap
it's
and
gonna
then
be
caught
close.
out.
It's going to be close.
No, he's gone. He's gone.
Yes, he has, and he's done a good job once again. So he should cross the timing line with the clock not counting down to 0. Therefore, it would be the remainder of this lap plus one more. He's got 25 seconds to make it to the timing line, which is not going to be a problem, truthfully. Sure enough, it isn't.
And it's so smart of him because there is a 488 car which is slower than him, and that means the other drivers can only overtake after the safety car line.
Yeah, clever
and that
man.
means he effectively had 5 seconds to the good, or 3.5 already before even making it across the line. So just shows how important racecraft and experience is.
Maurizio Pittori does pick up a penalty of 25 seconds for causing a collision. That's going to bring Sven Schirmer and also Pino Frascaro into podium places in the 488 race, I think, if I've read that correctly.
Yeah, indeed. That would be my interpretation as well. But obviously everybody bunched up. Alexei Komarov, Gerardo Marino, all in play, as is Tommy Lindroth. So we will see what can happen over the remainder of this lap, plus one more. And Andrzej Lewandowski, he was on pole. He felt confident. He's down in P3, relatively down, but he would so dearly love to get back onto the second spot of the podium.
There he is, Andrzej Lewandowski, chasing Andreas Rizzi. Henri Assi checked out already. And there is Thomas Gostner, who's had a bit of a lonely existence, Nico, really, running there in the P4 position that he has. There is Alexander Nussbaumer ahead of Pierluigi Alessandri. And under braking, Andrzej Lewandowski getting very close to Andreas Rizzi. Okay, our race leader is about to start the final lap of this race. It is the plus a lap that he will be starting. And Nico, it was well pointed out by you. You picked up on the fact that he went for it knowing that he was going to be able to play a really crucial advantage. And that's why he's got a 4.264 margin over Andreas Rizzi and Andrzej Lewandowski. Now, to be fair, I think Andreas Rizzi has had his rear-view screen really rather full of Andrzej Lewandowski and hasn't been able to perhaps get up the road as much as he would have liked to have done. But Henri Assid, who has had a very, very dominant season indeed, is on course and on target. Andrzej Lewandowski with just a few turns to do. Surely he will try and throw something at this to get P2. There's a time penalty for car number 173 for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, and that's Corinna Gostner. That's going to benefit the likes of Yasutaka Shirasaki, von Skeltermar, Christoph Herny, et al. So where and when is Andrzej Lewandowski going to have a go on Andreas Rizzi? I'm not sure he's going to. Not sure he's close enough. Not sure he's got the pace to be able to do it. For the 488s, it is Quinn Wiedlisbach from Sven Schirmer and Maurizio Pittori on track, but I think Pino Frascaro is going to be elevated into that P3 position for the 488 Challenge cars. As Henri Assid then has just a couple of turns to do, barring a kink or so on the start-finish straight. And here he comes right now. So it's been a stellar season for the Kessel Racing driver, who heads towards the checkered flag and takes another win to cement his dominance in the Coppa Shell Championship. It's P2 for Andreas Rizzi, P3 for Andrzej Lewandowski. Then it was Thomas Gostner, Alexander Nussbaumer, Pierluigi Alessandri, Ernst Kirchmeier, James Weiland. Now Corinna Gostner will drop down the order, and that means that von Skeltermar takes P9. Yasutaka Shirasaki, Christoph Herny, Kenade, Motohiko Isasaki, Corinna Gostner, Michael Martin and John Dillon. The winner, Henri Assid. Now for the 488s, of course, we do have the 488s racing as well. Quinn Wiedlisbach. Quinn Wiedlisbach wins the 488 Challenge race ahead of Sven Schirmer and Pino Frascaro. So well done to those drivers. And the car's all slowing down right now. Well, an eventful race.
Indeed, an eventful race, and there is Manuel Agostino on the side of the track, unfortunately not able to finish the race. And yeah, there are our 488 challenge drivers, and it's sadly it is also goodbye to the 488 challenge in Europe, because that was the last race for them. Here is the result on screen for you.
Henri Assi takes the win from Andreas Rizzi and Andrzej Lewandowski. Then it was Thomas Gostner, Alexander Nussbauer, Pierluigi Alessandri, Ernst Kirkmayer, James Weiland, von Skeltmar, and Yasutaka Shirasaki rounding out the top 10 of our Coppa Shell drivers driving the 296 challenge car. Then it was Christoph Ernie, Ken Abe, Motohiko Isosaki, Corinna Gostner, Michael Martin, and John Dillon. Now for our 488 challenge race, it was Quinn Veitlisbach victorious ahead of Sven Schirmer, and well done, Pino Frascaro gets a podium by taking P3 ahead of Gerardo Marino, Faisal Shayer, Tommy Lindroth, and then it was Alexei Komarov, Maurizio Pittori, Nils Branson, Germano Salernitano.
And there is our winner. There is Henri Assi. Everything that he had to win for the season had already been done, but you know, I think it feels extra sweet if you come from P3 and have to make the overtake, and he did it extremely early.
You may recall he said at the beginning of our program, you know, that part of the joy for him is actually when it hasn't all gone his own way necessarily in qualifying and he's had to work for a win. He finds that more satisfying, Nico.
Absolutely, and I can understand that. There is Andreas Rizzi in the car being congratulated by his team. Well done. The CDP DNC racing team giving props to their driver. Very interesting design on the helmet. Really like
it is, isn't it?
Yeah, really like that.
It's like LED strips, isn't it, almost?
Yeah. There is Andrzej Lewandowski for Autohaus Ulrich.
Mamur there, who is one of our Corsa Clienti team, who's always welcoming to us. Let's take a look at our race winner then in super slow-mo.
Wow, Rick, congratulations, a very incredible race, but I want to discover more about your incredible start.
Really, I don't know how I could do this start. It was, I don't know, I was completely fixed on the light and it was off. I pushed totally, and as you can see, as you can saw, I passed on the grass to overtake, I don't know, Lewandowski. It was just crazy, and I passed first at the T1, marvelous. And my car was very, very nice.
Thank you, Henri. And well done to you. So we will be hearing hopefully from this young man as well, Quinn Veitlisbach. Well done, Pino. Pino Frascaro then taking a well-deserved podium. There is Pino, there is Mrs. Pino. That's lovely to see. Congratulated by the family. Really, really emotional character, and yeah, good to see. So let's see a super slow-mo of the Quinn Veitlisbach car, and we'll be hearing from Quinn in just a moment.
Congratulations, a very important result for you. I want to discover more with you your feeling to be here and to win in this incredible track.
be honest, Imola has grown on my heart so quickly. I was just testing last weekend. First lap, I absolutely fell in love with it. We had an amazing race day, amazing result. First time, let's say, drive on the wet and on the dry, so very happy. So thankful to have such a beautiful team. We put so much heart, so much love into the car, and really every team member is giving its best. So thank you so much to everyone. Lots of love, and we're coming tomorrow for Sunday for Finale Mondiale.
Thank you
So much.
Well done, Quinn Wiedlisbach. As the cars were released and the lights went out, what a move from Henri Acid as he had to take to the grass to try and wrestle away that P1 position. But he did it and picked up the race lead. Following suit, it was Andreas Rizzi that would chase on and Andrzej Lewandowski in P3. A hit there from Tibor Valint on John Dillon. Caused John to drop way down the order and caused Tibor Valint to be out in the gravel. Unfortunately, it would be a retirement for Manuela Gostner as well in the Coppa Shell drivers. In the 488 drivers, plenty of action going on as well, and Corinna Gostner was chasing down and being chased at the same time by von Skeltermar. Where would Corinna be able to try and put an overtake on the car ahead of Yasutaka Shirasaki? Well, that was how she did it. Various bits falling off the car in due course. Now, this was Pino Frascaro, unfortunately with something of an assist into the gravel, but it would be Henri Acid that would be victorious in his championship winning year. Henri Acid for Kessel Racing taking the win for the Shell drivers. And it would be Quinn Wiedlisbach that would be victorious for the 488 drivers. And the celebrations for Pino's P3, Nico, continue. Yeah, there's been a lot of love down there.
Yeah, as is the case in the Ferrari Challenge generally, and you can see there's a little bit even more relaxed atmosphere underneath the podium. And talking about podiums, this is where we go now.
And Michele Mambelli will bring the drivers out onto the podium. 2 podiums to come, one for the Shell drivers, one for the 488 drivers.
He's alive. He is alive.
So the drivers, Andrzej Lewandowski and Andreas Rizzi already on the podium. And here comes Henri Acid, our race winner. And the national anthem plays out. So the anthem plays out. Of course, Kessel Racing will be represented on the podium as well. And Ferrari factory driver Antonio Giovinazzi will be making the trophy presentations. He's made the trophy presentation to Andrzej Lewandowski. He does so now to Andreas Rizzi. And of course, the race winners trophy will go the way of Henri Acid. There is a Kessel trophy to be awarded as well. Sorry, a Coppa team trophy to be awarded to Kessel. I got it bottom about face. Apologies. So everyone gets together for the photographs. And Henri Acid will be the champagne celebration winner as well, I have no doubt. There you go. Pretty much guaranteed. Knows what he's doing in a racing car and knows his way around a bottle of bubbly as well, you know. P3, Andrzej Lewandowski for Autohaus Ulrich. P2 for the CDP DNC racing driver Andreas Rizzi. And P1 for Kessel Racing's Henri Acid. And the Drivers' Championship standings. Henri Acid P1, John Dillon P2, Manuela Gosner P3. And then the rest of the championship order. Been so many drivers that have taken part. Andrzej Lewandowski, look at this, final knockings of the 2024 season, moved up 9 places in the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see him next year for a full campaign. That's going to be really, really nice to see him as part of this championship.
He's impressed, hasn't he?
Absolutely. Collecting points from start to finish, and you could see it was between P2 and P4 was a matter of 5 points or something like that. So really, really close. And there is Mrs. Pino Frescaro.
Mrs. Pino and younger Mrs. Pino. Sorry, that sounded really bad, really, didn't it? There is Pino Frescaro then making his way to the podium and milking every moment of it. Look at this. And Sven Schirmer is there for P2. And Quinn Vettel is back, who's another driver I really hope we see in the Ferrari Challenge next year. Anthem plays out, and well done to Quinn Vettel, well done to Sven Schirmer, and well done to Pino Frescaro. CDP and DNC Racing are there, of course, to take their place on the podium. Antonio Giovinazzi once again making the trophy presentation. First of all to Pino Frescaro, who'll be there having a chat for a while. Look at this. Oh, goodness. Up next, it will be Sven Schirmer to receive his trophy. And then Quinn Vettel is back. As I say, I really hope we see him in the Ferrari Challenge next year, because clearly a young talent. And I think very proud family members there, Nico, watching on.
For sure, yeah, definitely. He didn't do the whole campaign. He came in and also very much impressed. So definitely hope that we will stick around, but we still got the World Finals to do.
Double bubble for him, of course, because Lydia makes the Pirelli trophy presentation as well. He gets a Pirelli trophy. Everyone together on the podium now for the photographs to be taken. Come on, Pino. Oh, well, oh, Christmas. He's forgotten his trophy. Oh, it's fantastic. Photographs taken then. And everyone else exits the podium pretty quickly before the champagne gets sprayed. Pino's there like a fire extinguisher with his going. Drop. Rosso Corsa Racing, Pino Frescaro taking P3. Taking P2, a great weekend that Sven Schirmer has had, Nico, for Ferrari Katowice.
Yeah, he really has the pace this weekend, so it's going to be interesting what he can do in terms of tomorrow and Sunday.
And Quinn Vettel is back for CDP and DNC Racing, victorious in the 201 car. And that's it for the 488 Challenge cars in terms of the 2024 campaign. And for the campaigns before, they have done a fantastic job, and it's been a fantastic car. Fabrizio Fontana, the champion, Tommy Lindroth, P2, and Pino Frescaro, P3 in the Drivers' Championship. Has been a fantastic racing car, and in terms of the 2024 Championship, their racing is done and dusted. And well done to Fabrizio Fontana, taking a victory in the 488 Evo Drivers' Championship. From Nico and from myself, thank you so much for watching that Coppa Shell and 488 Challenge race. Goodbye for now.